Before we get started with the ceremony, I would like to recognize a few groups of folks in attendance tonight. First, we'll start with the current Chamber Board of Directors. Folks here tonight, Jim Kinnear, Josh Rosenberger, Kelly Howells, Dr. Bob Camp, Bill Darr, Rich Fiskus, Beth Gregg, Lori Kosneski, Clinton Smith, Bob Marcus, Ryan Glista. We have a few other guests here tonight. Greg Van Horn with the Indiana County Tourist Bureau, Jim Wiley with the Indiana County Development Corporation, Byron Stauffer, Executive Director of the Indiana County Office of Planning and Development, County Commissioners Rod Ruddock and Shireen Hess, IUP President Dr. Michael Driscoll, and Joe Pittman with Senator Don White's office. We also have four current Hall of Fame members with us tonight: Chuck Spatafor, Gib Zillner, Jake Krebs, and Joe Kovalchick. Thank you all for being here. Okay, so here we go with the induction of the fourth class into the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame. I'd like to start with a word of thanks to the Hall of Fame committee. If you are here, please stand as your name is called. Jim Kinnear, Mike Donnelly, Bob Marcus, Jim Wiley, John Busavicki, Greg Cepas, Bob Kane, and Jim Struzzi. Thanks to all of you for your efforts to make the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame a continued success. And now our 2018 inductees. I'm truly honored as the chairman of the Chamber's Board of Directors and chair of the Hall of Fame Committee to welcome this year's class. With the help of the Indiana Gazette, a video biography has been created for each inductee that will serve as their introduction. We will also be presenting each inductee with a signed certificate from U.S. Senator Pat Toomey. We will begin with Louis McGill. Please direct your attention to the video screen.
Louis McGill founded one of the most recognizable auto dealerships in Indiana County, McGill Motors Incorporated. Started with his brother, Louis was president of the company for 27 years before selling the business in 1973. McGill Motors was the largest auto dealership in Indiana during his time. Before establishing the dealership, he was employed by McCrory Stores Corporation, an A.B. Dick company. McGill received the first Man of the Year award from the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce in 1951, and in 1977 was named the first director emeritus. He served as president in 1950. Born in 1908 in Minneapolis, McGill spent his early life in Wheaton, Illinois, but relocated to Indiana in 1945. McGill was a member of Greystone Presbyterian Church in Indiana. McGill was active in the Community Chest, United Fund, Boy Scouts, Little League Baseball, borough and township construction projects, various municipal authorities, merchant and business groups, Indiana Hospital, YMCA, Industrial Development, and Jimmy Stewart Airport. He and wife Myrtle Christensen McGill had two daughters, Carol Carter and Marilyn LaRush. McGill died in 1987 at age 79.
I would now like to invite Marilyn LaRush, Louis McGill's daughter, to the stage.
I would like to preface my remarks by saying I have a little neurological thing going on, and if I sound like I'm inebriated, I'm not. Typically I am, but not tonight. My sister Carol and I are so proud to be here today to see our dad honored. How proud he would be. His role modeling and pearls of wisdom definitely contributed to my success as a public school administrator in special education. Our dad loved his job. He was a devoted Ford Motor man and lived and breathed McGill Motors. One of his corniest jokes was, "What did the Martians say when he landed on Earth? Take me to your Ford dealer. I'll see your leader later." No one had a stronger work ethic than he did. He showed us that good old-fashioned hard work was the way to success. We grew up hearing that any job worth doing is worth doing right. He knew how to delegate, but he lived by the concept of nobody should be working harder than the boss. We've all heard the quote that customer the customer isn't always right, but the customer is always the customer. The dealership slogan, "McGill will fulfill," reflected his commitment to customer service. He knew that a happy customer was a return customer. He was a big man, both in stature and personality. He was charismatic and had many personal traits that I've tried to emulate. When I was a kid, I remember going a lot of times to the Indiana post office with him to pick up the McGill Motors mail. He greeted everyone he saw and knew most of them by name. I was amazed. Dad was smart. He'd been a math and physics major in college. He'd try to help me in my math, but he knew the old math, and I was learning new math. They never meshed. I still have no clue what new math was, is, or should have been. When our dad was around, it was always fun. As a boss myself, I worked hard to ensure that people woke up and came to work because they wanted to. In my office, we always had some underlying funny thing going on. We worked hard and we played hard. It kept stress in check. The thread of our dad's humor lives on in the whole McGill clan. We've embraced his philosophy of, if it's funny once, it's funny 1,000 times. Hence, what did the Martians say when he landed on Earth? Take me to your Ford dealer, I'll see your leader later. In a 1953 sesquicentennial parade, he rode one of those high bikes. Pretty brave for a 44-year-old man who didn't believe in exercise. When he received his first air-conditioned car from Ford Motor, Carol and I drove in it with him in the 4th of July parade. We were all bundled up in our winter coats, hats, and gloves. How fun was that? Dad loved Indiana contributing to the community through Kiwanis, as a church trustee, and politics, though he never tweeted. And of course, he contributed through the Chamber of Commerce. I remember how excited everyone was when Robert Shaw and Campus Sweater came to Indiana. He hired a lady with a severe physical disability to be his first personal secretary. She had had polio. That was long before the American with Disabilities Act came into play. He took a chance, and she turned out to be a secretary's secretary. Kind of interesting that Carol and I both ended up working with students with special needs. When he was 58, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. I don't remember him ever complaining. It was what it was, and he forged forward. He was humorous right to the end. Due to his Parkinson's, one time when he and my mom were in Los Angeles at my house, he tripped and almost cracked his head on a coffee table. He looked up and said, "I made it look easy, didn't I?" He taught us well and will always be grateful. We are so proud of him today and always. Thank you for the honor.
Thank you, Marilyn, for being here tonight and for all your father did for Indiana County. Our next inductee is C. Gilbert Wolfenden. Again, please direct your attention to the video screen.
Charles Gilbert Wolfenden was a prominent politician and businessman in Indiana County in the mid-20th century. Veteran of World War I, he went on to earn 2 degrees from the University of Pittsburgh. He began work for the George T. Buchanan Company in 1920 for his father-in-law and became CEO for 32 years. He served as president and chairman of the board for the Savings and Trust Company of Pennsylvania, where he was a member of the board from 1931 to 1974. He was also president of the former Fairview Supermarket in Indiana. He also served as president of S&T Bank from 1968 to 1972 and as chairman of the board. Wolfenden also maintained a political career, protege of Republican Pennsylvania Governor John Fisher. He was elected to the state Senate and served from 1936 to 1940. He was one of the originators of the Indiana Community Chest, the precursor of the United Way, and was a member of the White Township Municipal Authority. Wolfenden belonged to the Calvary Presbyterian Church in Indiana. He and wife Edith Buchanan were married for 68 years and had 3 sons, Gilbert, George, and Richard, all of whom worked in the family business. Wolfenden passed away on July 24, 1988, at the age of 94.
Mr. Wolfenden is represented here tonight by his grandson, John Wolfenden. John?
I want to thank all of you so much for this wonderful honor. Nothing would have made my grandfather any prouder than this moment. He dedicated his whole life to the betterment of this community, and no one, and I mean no one, gave more of himself than him. It's overwhelming to contemplate all that he accomplished. I was thinking about it on the trip up here from Cincinnati, and he was busy a lot when I was a kid, but it was always with the betterment of the community at hand. His leadership and steady hand provided employment and community development at both the George T. Buchanan Company and the S&T Bank that left an indelible mark on Indiana to this day. On a personal note, we as a family always knew how much my grandparents, both of them, worked as a team, and their absolute love and dedication for each other and for us. Their devotion to their grandchildren made all of our lives possible in every way. None of the four of us would have gone to college or graduate school without their financial and their emotional support. There is no doubt, they faced incredible challenges in their personal lives, but they always pushed forward, both of them, to accomplish what was best for all of us. Finally, I'm so thrilled that my grandfather is being inducted with Jim Miller, a great friend to the family and a wonderful successor to my grandfather. Again, thank you all very much for honoring my grandfather with this magnificent award.
Thank you, John. We truly appreciate everything your grandfather did for Indiana County. Our third inductee of the night is Jim Miller.
Jim Miller helped set S&T Bank on a path of growth that continues to this day. Under his leadership, first as president and chief operating officer, and later as its CEO, the Indiana-based bank quadrupled its total assets to $4.4 billion. He also served as the chairman of the board from 2004 to 2013 and continues to serve as a member of the board. Miller was a manager at Brookville Bank and Trust Company, then rose through the ranks after S&T acquired the company. During his tenure, Miller played a leadership role in a number of other acquisitions and oversaw the opening of S&T's new headquarters in downtown Indiana in 2006. Miller was appointed president and chief operating officer in 1993 and was promoted to CEO in 1998 and served until his retirement in 2008. Heavily invested in the community, Miller held leadership positions with a host of local organizations over the years. He served as chairman of the Indiana Hospital Board of Directors, president of the Indiana County United Way, and chairman of the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce and the ICDC. He was a leader with Alice Paul House and downtown Indiana and has been recognized for his service to the Boy Scouts and IUP. A native of Brookville, Miller earned his bachelor's and MBA degrees from Penn State in 1968 and 1971. He served in the U.S. Army in Vietnam, where he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal and the Vietnam Gallantry Cross. Married in 1971, Jim and his wife Nancy are the parents of 5 children, and they have 3 grandchildren.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Miller.
Thank you, and good evening. Just last month, Nancy and I attended the IUP Celebrating Philanthropy dinner in this very same venue. And we were seated with Caleb Finnegan and 5 students from the Cook Honors College. We felt as though we were looking at ourselves 50 years ago. You know, these were young students from Kane and Reynoldsville, and right here in Indiana, Washington County, and the North Hills of Pittsburgh. Talked about their studies and what attracted them to IUP, what their career ambitions might be. And one of the young sophomores who really wasn't sure what he wanted to do concluded by simply stating, "I want to do something to help people." I loved hearing that. And my immediate response to him was, I believe the desire to help people is the key to success in whatever career or vocation we choose in life. I've consistently observed since we moved to this community 35 years ago that one of the hallmarks of the greater Indiana community in Indiana County is how people work so well together for the greater good. We're certainly not immune from the same cultural and political challenges that exist throughout the country, but I have so admired the ability of the people of Indiana County to look beyond our differences and work hard to find solutions to our problems that lift us all up together. Some might say it's because we're sort of on an island here and have to pull together for our very survival. But I prefer to think it has more to do with the quality of our culture and the character of our people. Regardless, you don't have to look very far to see the manifestations of our progress. We have this great university, which in spite of all the challenges facing public higher education today, just received the largest philanthropic gift in IUP's history, $23 million from the children of local coal mining families, John and Char Kovalchick, who both received their undergraduate degrees from IUP. You see it in the broad range of quality medical services still available through Indiana Regional Medical Center, one of the few remaining independent community hospitals, certainly for a community our size, still governed by a board of local citizens. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that Indiana County is also home to two of the largest 200 banks in the country. It's quite remarkable when you think about it. And there are so many other examples of successful institutions, enterprises, and particularly family-owned businesses that bring economic stability and prosperity to our region. Some of these success stories are represented by previous inductees to the Chamber Hall of Fame. And I want you to know that Nancy and I, as well as the entire Miller family, are deeply honored and humbled to receive this recognition. Finally, I want to congratulate the other inductees in the class of 2018 and to thank the Indiana County Chamber of Commerce and all of you for coming out this evening. Thank you.
Our fourth and final inductee of the evening is Jim Carino.
When James Carino took over his father's Christmas tree business in 1957, the industry was really taking off, fueled largely by the introduction of the Scotch pine. With an aggressive marketing plan, he developed what was a small business into one of the largest wholesale Christmas tree companies in the United States. The company, J.L. Carino Nurseries, shipped millions of plants per year. Carino won more than 200 awards in Christmas tree competitions on various levels. His company also supplied a 35-foot concolor fir to decorate the Capitol Rotunda in Harrisburg. In 1969, James and his father formed AFCO Energy Production, a natural gas drilling company. AFCO continues today as the operator of several shallow wells on Carino properties. Born in 1933 in Glen Campbell, his family moved to Indiana in 1946, and he enrolled in what was known then as the Indiana Lab School and graduated in 1949. He then attended the Kiski Prep School, class of 1951, and then graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 1955. At Penn, Carino enlisted in the NROTC, was commissioned as a lieutenant junior grade in the U.S. Naval Reserve upon graduation, and was immediately called to active duty. Carino is a past director of S&T Bancorp and chairman of the Wealth Management Committee. He is a past member and officer of the Pennsylvania Christmas Tree Growers Association and a founding member of the Pennsylvania Tree Improvement Program. He was also a member of the National Christmas Tree Growers Association and several other professional groups. A generous philanthropist, he established the Carino Family Foundation in 1998. James and his wife Carolyn have a daughter, Laura, and 2 grandchildren.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Carino.
I'm going to start out with a little bit of history. My family moved here 73 years ago, about a block away from here. So this is kind of special to me to be at this beautiful facility at this time. At that time, we lived on Maple Street, and some of you people, I guess, are old enough to know this. We lived 2 doors up from the Indiana Macaroni Company. Needless to say, we got a lot of free macaroni and spaghetti. But it was very, very nice. And I used to camp back in the woods, not too far from where the stadium is right now, the football stadium is. So we would camp there and pitch our tents and whatnot. And at that, previous to that, the property that we're on right now was the Indiana Glass Works. And we used to come over here and mess around. But that's after the Kovalchick family purchased this place. And it then became the Kovalchick, we called it the Kovalchick Junkyard at that time. Joe won't like that, but the Kovalchick Junkyard. And most recently, of course, it became the Kovalchick Gold Mine. So sorry about that, Joe, wherever you are there. Anyway, I thought I would bring you up to speed on a little bit of history, and it is a real pleasure to be back in this site, this beautiful structure, and so forth, to receive this award tonight, knowing that I grew up so close by here. And as a matter of fact, Roger Ruschini, one of the past recipients, was also a block and a half away from here where he grew up. So we have a little bit of history going way back. I do have some notes here. And first of all, I'd like to thank, of course, the Indiana Chamber of Commerce for this honor and induction of the County Business Hall of Fame. I, of course, accept this award on behalf of the Carino family, both past and present. To my special guest here tonight, and especially my little grandson and my little granddaughter, who have been so brave to spend this entire evening here, and they have been just absolutely unbelievable. I'd also recognize my friend of the past 17 years, Diane. Most of you will know her as Cookie Santamena, and I'm happy for you to be here and the rest of my guests. It's a real pleasure to have you guys here. During my more than 50 years of my business career, many people have played important roles in making the Carino company successful. And certainly can't name all of them, but some of them are here tonight, and I'm very happy that they are. And I would like to make mention of them. First, of course, is my daughter, Laura Musser, who is sitting right in front of me, who, among other administrative duties, she concentrated on marketing of both Christmas trees and nursery stock. Some of you might remember Laura was Queen Evergreen 28 way back when. It's been a few years. And at that time, during her reign, the artificial tree was making very strong inroads on the live tree industry. And it was during that time that Laura was serving as Queen Evergreen, and during her reign, of course, she made about 60 appearances on the national, local, and state levels. And it was at a time when the National Christmas Tree Growers Association came out with a slogan. Now, you wouldn't eat a plastic turkey on Thanksgiving. Why would you have a plastic tree at Christmas time? So Laura used that slogan many, many times during her reign as the Queen Evergreen 28. My nephew, Doug Wilhite, I would like to mention him. And he's also here tonight, played an important roles in all phases of the business. I would also like to mention my longtime office manager, Grace Miller-Mahoric, my nursery manager, Ron Sensabaugh, my nursery supervisors, Shirley McCombie, it happens to be here tonight, and somebody previous to Shirley, Emily Francischini. Without these people, these key people, and the hundreds of employees under them over the years, we would not have enjoyed the success that brought us here to this award tonight. These are the people that really make the companies. In addition, I want to thank my late father, Anthony Carino, for planting the first seeds and the first seedlings that marked the beginning of the Carino companies. And more importantly, for providing capital and guidance during those early years. As you know, when you're starting a business out from scratch, you run into a lot of problems, and he certainly helped solve a lot of them. On a personal note, I must thank my late wife, Carolyn, for the sacrifices she made married to a workaholic. By this, I mean 12 to 14-hour days and 7-day work weeks, keeping dinner warm until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and keeping Laura up so she could have a little bit of daddy time. So the role that my wife, Carolyn, my late wife, Carolyn, played is very important. She played a very important role in this story. It's unfortunate she isn't here tonight except in spirit. For the record, I would like to clarify some confusion about the Carino companies. First, the Carino Nurseries and later JLC Partners was the Christmas Tree Company. This company owned the land and Christmas trees on about 30 parcels of land. In addition, we purchased Christmas trees in all stages of growth from speculators, bankers, attorneys, and other professionals who planted thousands of Christmas tree seedlings and had no plan for the care and marketing of these trees as they reached marketable size. This presented a great opportunity for us because we had the ability to care for these trees and we had the ability to bring them to market. So these were very, very important things in our development. The second company that we had was J.L. Carino Nurseries Incorporated. This was the seedling and transplant division of our business. We were growing plants on 5 different parcels of land, comprising about 200 acres, with about 30 million plants in the ground at all times. We shipped to Christmas tree growers, nurserymen, soil conservation districts, and large landowners to retail, and also to retail mail order customers in over 40 states. And our last company, the AFCO Energy Production Company, was the national gas division of our Carino companies, and I might add it was a very profitable one. It was back in the days when they were developing the Oriskany gas field called the Pinton gas field in the eastern part of the county, and we were one of the original investors along with some major companies that really got us swinging in the energy part of our business. For many years, as many of you know, Indiana County has been known as the Christmas tree capital of the world, and rightly so. Years ago, you wouldn't be able to travel very many miles, as you know, without seeing a Christmas tree plantation. And there were plenty of them out there. Everybody that had a little patch of ground, of course, wanted to plant some trees. The important part of and Christmas tree growing and nurseries became a very important part of the local economy back then. As you know, we employed thousands of people and so forth. But at the same time that we were growing all these trees, hundreds of thousands of cut trees were being shipped out of the county. Millions of Christmas tree seedlings were grown by local nurseries. These trees, of course, being shipped to customers throughout the United States and Canada. In summary, and the reason for my point here is, in summary, it's good to know that this industry, which was very important back in those days, is now being recognized by having one of its growers inducted into the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame. Some of the highlights of my personal and business career have been documented in my biography. To this, I would like to add, as individuals and businessmen, we have an obligation to give back to the communities in which we live. The way I see it, there are three ways you can fulfill this duty. You can participate by giving your time and your talent, by becoming a member of various charities and organizations, serving on committees and boards, and sometime becoming a director and officer. The third way is by giving money, without which the organizations would struggle to operate. All these are important, and some individuals do all three. In my particular case, I had little free time and probably a small amount of talent to devote to committees and meetings. So it is my hope that our major financial contributions, that's the Carino major financial contributions made by me personally and by the Carino Family Foundation in the present and in the future, will help to make our community a better place to live, work, and raise our families. In closing, as I get older, in my case 85 years, you spend some time reflecting on your life, your success, your failures, and the challenges you overcame. The old adage keeps coming up, the harder I worked, the luckier I got. This was certainly true in my case, but only a small piece of the real reason for my success. No one can be this lucky without the Lord Jesus Christ on your side. I've always felt his presence through thick and thin. Again, thank you, Chamber. Thank you, special guests, for attending. It's been an honor for me and the Carino family.
Thank you, Jim. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate again all of our inductees and their families. Thank you for all you've done, and thank you for being here this evening. Before we move out into the lobby for the dessert reception and the unveiling of the 2018 Indiana County Business Hall of Fame display, I'd like to recognize our sponsors and give thanks to those whose hard work and commitment made tonight possible. Principal sponsors, First Commonwealth Bank, S&T Bank, and the Rischini Group. Gold sponsors, Indiana Regional Medical Center, Government and Civil Employee Services, Diamond Drugs, and Gibson Thomas Engineering. Silver sponsors, A New Home Health Agency, Stifler McGraw, Colonial Motor Mart, Kovalchick Corporation, and EMG Management. Bronze sponsors, Krebs United Publications, 700 Shop, Indiana County Healthcare Careers Consortium, and our media partners, Renda Broadcasting, WMUG, and the Indiana Gazette. Thanks to the Kovalchick Complex staff and Aramark for this evening's food and service. Thanks to the Chamber President, Jim Struzzi, and his hardworking staff, Jill Mountain, Alexa Zimmerman, and Christian Brooks Lane, and our Chamber ambassadors for their efforts to make tonight possible. Thanks to the Indiana Gazette staff for their support and efforts, specifically Jim Nestor, Patrick Clunan, Jason Levon, and Chauncey Ross. A special thank you to Sakula Signs, Reliant Holdings, and Dylan Kane for their work on the Hall of Fame display, website, and video screen that you will see shortly in the lobby. We also thank Marianne Lambrinos, Chuck Martin, Sam Phillips, Mark Matthey, and Andrew Thompson from the KCAC for your continued support. Thanks again to our Hall of Fame committee. Congratulations once again to our inductees into the 4th class of the Indiana County Business Hall of Fame. Before we move to the lobby, if you look on the back of your program and you have a small colored dot, you get to take all the bacon that's left in the room. That's actually not true. I actually get all the bacon. If you have a small colored dot, you have won the door prize for your table, which is the centerpiece. You are welcome to take it with you now or return after the unveiling and dessert. If you would please join us in the lobby for the dessert reception, we will unveil the 2018 Business Hall of Fame display. Thank you again for coming tonight.